The Feds are slowing the rate hikes and they're coming at 25 basis points. Also, inflation is projected to be at 3 to 4% by the end of the year. I'm not saying this is the bottom, but my middle name is dollar cost averaging, so I'm buying all the dips. Here are 3 growth stocks that I'm buying and you should too. 3 stocks I recommend are Google, Airbnb, and Square, and I'll tell you why. A lot of YouTubers nowadays recommend stocks, but how do you know if they actually own them? With Blossom Social, you can see my portfolio and my buys and sells. That way I can provide transparency. So make sure you guys follow me on Blossom Social and download the app. So just some quick facts about these stocks. Google, cash at 113 billion, debt at 29 billion, profit margin of 21%, and the revenue growth in 2022 was 9.78%. In 2021 it was 41%, and in 2020 it was 12.77%. Now the thing that stood out for me about this stock was the PE ratio. It was at 18, and that's fairly great, and it shows how valued it is for a tech stock. Next stock is Airbnb. The cash was at 9.63 billion, debt at 2.36 billion. Their profit margin was 20%. The revenue growth was 50.97% in 2022, 77% in 2021. However, there was a decline of negative 29.7% in 2020. Obviously, this was during the pandemic and a lot of people were not booking hotels and Airbnbs, so it's kind of understandable. The thing that stood out for me was it just became recently profitable in 2021, 2022. So right after the pandemic, obviously there was a huge rush and everyone started booking out Airbnbs on going on vacation. So that also makes sense. Next, we have Square. Its cash is at 5.30 billion, its debt at 5.52 billion, its profit margin at negative 2.97. Its revenue growth in 2022 was only 1.3%. However, in 2021 it was at 85%, and in 2020 it was 101%. The thing that stands out to me about Square is it's been in profit since 2018, but the profit has been weak. But for a company like this to show profit from the minute it started, it's very amazing. Although I don't like its weak profit margin, it's not the worst, and it's not a risky stock like some of these EV stocks, so it is worth noting and it's worth investing in. Hope I don't have to explain why Google is a great investment. First of all, they own YouTube and you are watching this video on YouTube. Secondly, they own Google Search. Everyone uses Google Search. I know there's a whole debate about ChatGPT and Bing, but come on, if I told you to search something right now, you'd probably pull up your phone and go straight to Google. You wouldn't go on Bing.com or ChatGPT. That's just not fast enough. Google is fast. Google has also done 72.84% in the last 5 years. That's almost 15% every year. Even though Google does not have any dividends, it does have something called a share buyback. Google in 2022 bought $59 billion worth of its own shares. A share buyback can increase the price of the stock, so in a way it is kind of like dividends. The next stock we'll be talking about is Airbnb. Airbnb acts as a middleman when it comes to booking a place to stay. The reason why Airbnb is one of my favorite stocks is because it owns 0 hotels and properties, which means it has no liabilities. And I think that's why it has such a low debt, because it barely owns anything. It's just a middleman and a broker that lets people rent or allows you to put your listing on rent on the Airbnb platform. Not only that, Airbnb is a company that I use and know very well. As many of you guys know, I travel a lot, and majority of the time I use Airbnb to book my hotels and resorts, and it's just a stock that I know very well. It recently just beat earnings, and I knew it would beat earnings because I saw a lot of people renting out Airbnbs, especially when I was traveling this year. Airbnb IPO'd in 2020. In the last 3 years, it's down negative 13.20%. Now, is this stock a buy? I would say it is definitely a buy, and I would say it's not really a value play, but it definitely is a growth play, and it's worth taking a chance with. Square is a payment processor company made for small and medium businesses. It was founded by Jack Dorsey, the previous CEO of Twitter. Square accepts payments using smartphone or your tablet. Square also owns Cash App. Cash App allows you to send money to people. Cash App is very popular in the United States. I always used to see people talking about Cash App, especially on Twitter. Square also owns Afterpay, a buy now pay later service. They also own Weebly, a web hosting service, and Tidal, a music subscription service like Spotify, backed by Jay-Z. The main reason why I like Square stock is because I also use Square for my small businesses, and it just makes everything so much simpler. Square also in 2021 had an amazing revenue of $18 billion. Now this caught my eye, especially for a stock that's trading this low with a revenue this high, especially if you compare it to Airbnb. Square IPO'd in 2018 and has returned 78.64% in the last 5 years. At the peak of the bull market, Square was trading at $289. So would I buy Square right now? Absolutely, especially because it's trading so low for the amount of revenue it's making.